Well, hi everybody. Welcome to this Cafecito Virtual. This is a cafecito in English this time. So how you guys feel about that?
Awesome.
Is that not exciting? Well, cheers. I drink my coffee black. I don't know how you guys drink your coffee or tea. Cheers to you guys from wherever you are. So today we have the privilege to join some college foundation representatives that we have across the region in North Carolina, and what they're going to do is really share that wisdom that they have with us, and really just have the opportunity just to have a very informal conversation about some things that we feel are important for students to know. So if you guys don't mind introducing yourself, telling us where you are located in the state, and kind of if you have one thing or two things to say about you that our audience can learn about you, will be wonderful.
Do you want me to get started?
Go ahead and get started. Yeah.
So I'm Devon McCarthy-James. I am the newly minted Western Regional Rep out here in Asheville. I have been a high school English teacher, and most recently before this, I was a high school counselor. So I've done a lot of things with high school students, basically, and I'm really excited to be here in this new role, trying to help folks all over the region, and really all over the state in some ways.
Yeah, what people don't realize, Devon, is that you started a week before I did.
Yep. We're very new.
I'm the baby one here. Anyone else wants to?
Sure. My name is Brittany Privett, and I am the regional representative for the southeastern region of the state of North Carolina. So I'm down here in sunny Wilmington, North Carolina, where it's going to be 87 degrees today. So
nice.
But of course, all the beaches are closed, so I'm a little bitter about that. But I understand why. But I'm really excited to talk a little bit about what we could be doing to kind of serve students and make sure that students are on the right track when it comes to reaching their goals. Although coronavirus has kind of taken the world by storm, there are some things that we can be doing at home to kind of make sure that we're prepared, so once things open up again, we haven't lost this time. So I come from a college admissions background. I've worked at 2 different schools in the UNC system, and I love talking to students about their goals when it comes to where they want to attend and why, and helping them stay on track with that. So I'm excited for this conversation this morning.
Thank you, Brittany. I appreciate it. Your background is going to be very helpful in this conversation.
Awesome. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Timeka Ruffin, and I am the 704 Regional Representative for College Foundation. Woohoo, Queen City! And I live in Charlotte, and I probably have been with the foundation now for about 13 years. But prior to doing this, I have worked in financial aid. So I worked in financial aid at public and private institutions, did a little bit of work in admissions, and a little bit of work in residence life too. So kind of have definitely come from the higher ed world, but excited about this conversation.
Hola a todos. Good morning. Juana Hernandez, one of the CFNC representatives for Spanish services, along with JuanEs Ramirez. And I just want to say that it has been wonderful having you, JuanEs, and Devon on the CFNC team. And so you guys have been doing a lot of work. Even though you guys have only been here for a couple of months, it just feels like you guys have been here for a lot longer than that.
They're definitely a part of the family now, for sure.
You know, one of the things that I love about my job is that I really get the opportunity to hang out with cool people like you and really grab from those knowledge and expertise that you have. And so I'm really excited about that. And I feel like each of you in your own previous jobs and now this job have a lot to offer and contribute to our families and students. So really, this is the reason that this conversation is in English, is because we really wanted to pay attention to be mindful to the counselors and those families, those English-speaking families as well, that are Latinos. You know, Latinos come in all shades, and we do have an increasing number of Latino families that fully speak English in their homes. So we're really hoping this information can be helpful for them, and also for counselors as well. So each of you mentioned a little bit about your backgrounds, right? And so with that perspective in mind, what are some emergent things? What are some of those timely things that we need to be doing now? So even with or without coronavirus, right, that we have going on right now, what are some of those things that our students, our families, and our counselors need to be aware? You know, from maybe Brittany, if you can give us from the admission perspective, and Timeka from the financial aid perspective, and Devon, what I'll probably ask you to do is that transition that we don't necessarily think, but it's a big transition going from, let's say, from high school to college, or even if you're an adult learner going back to school, that brings a different set of challenges. So let's start with Brittany. Brittany, there's a lot of things happening right now, right?
So many things.
So many things. But I think one of the things that people don't realize is that the admission cycles continues, right? We have schools continue to accept applications. We have letter of admissions out. We have confirmations of enrollment. We have so many of these things happening right now, but what are some of those things that you think our students should be focusing right now?
Sure. I would say the first rule of thumb from now until like you step foot on campus, students need to be checking their email definitely email is going to be the best way to reach these schools right now, because a lot of people are either working from home or not necessarily in the office during traditional hours. I don't think students realize at this point in the game, the main point of communication from colleges from here forth, so until you graduate, is your email. So you need to start checking your institution email, not just your personal email. I would also let students know that it's okay to still be on the fence when it comes to what school you plan on attending. And even though you may not be able to physically tour an institution, you can check out virtual tours on our website. So schools that you've been accepted to, if you haven't stepped foot on their campus, you can utilize CFNC to explore what those campuses have to offer and get contact information if you reach out and discuss things with those schools. So staying in communication is super important at this point, because a lot of things are shifting, deadlines and stuff like that. So making sure that you're checking your email for those updates and communicating with schools and exploring those options still is really important. The last thing I want to make sure that students recognize is that May 1st is typically the national day to commit to the college that you plan on attending, and a lot of schools are going to stick with that May 1st deadline. I've listened to a few webinars and watched some Instagram lives with some admissions offices. A lot of them are sticking to that deadline when it comes to saying that you plan on attending. So a lot of schools will do that either by letter. You'll send them a letter stating that you want to attend that institution in the fall, or by a monetary deposit. So they may say, we want you to send in a deposit to show that you want to secure your spot in the freshman class. So make sure that you do that, because some schools fill up by May 1st, and you don't want to be the student that misses out on a seat to a school that you really wanted to attend and you were accepted to, just because you missed that May 1st deadline.
So that confirmation of enrollment, that deposit, it really is a really important piece of the puzzle here. And so for those students, for example, that that they're still, let's say something happened at the home, I feel like what you said kind of answers this, but just making sure that we emphasize, if you're, for some reason you're having an issue paying that deposit, contact the school, let them know the situation, because they're really understanding usually, right?
Oh yeah, some schools will waive your deposit if you show interest and you definitely want to come. A lot of times schools understand that we are going through a global pandemic right now and not everything is normal. But if you have plans on attending, contact the school and see what they can do, because you just never know. I will say one of the benefits to depositing when you know, so you don't have to do it on May 1st, you can do it earlier than May 1st. A lot of schools, the earlier you deposit, the better pick and options you have on classes and housing. So getting that deposit in and showing the school that you plan on attending in the fall definitely not only secures your spot with the freshman class, but also secures your spot in areas of like housing, getting the right classes, and joining different organizations that may be attractive to you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Brittany. The last thing, I always think about orientation as kind of your jump start to school, because it's really a place when you start signing for classes and kind of get ready. I know a lot of these things happen in the summer, and I know right now there's a lot of unknowns, but usually, if the school is unable to do it in person, most likely they're gonna have an alternative. Is that kind of what you're hearing right now? I know it's kind of early.
Yes, that's my understanding, that orientation still will happen. It just may be non-traditional, like we're going through right now with the classes that students are taking, with cafecitos like this. It's definitely one of those things where schools still will contact students. Schools are still happening. So just the earlier you deposit, the better date you get for your orientation. So it's all kind of intertwined. Checking your emails, noting deadlines, and getting that deposit in is going to kind of trigger different things down the line when it comes to your college timeline and getting the classes, housing, and all that stuff that you need.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's really helpful for the students to think from the admission perspective. And I know part of going to college is really being able to afford it and being able to pay for it. And really, Timeka, this is really where I hope your expertise, to pick on your expertise a little bit, because let's say, for example, we were encouraging students to complete the free application for student aid, the FAFSA, right? And that has been ongoing. So now a lot of schools started to send award letters out, letters of offers of information, and now this happens. So where do we go from here? What's going on right now?
I know, it's so crazy, but I still like for students to try to continue as if everything was running normal, right? So you still want to, like, if they're asking you for paperwork, if they're asking you for documents, still contact the financial aid office. All the colleges, are still open. Some of the offices may have varied hours, but they still have we can call in. Most of those employees are working from home, so you can call them or do like online chats, but definitely still ask the same questions. If you got an offer letter and you're not sure about the amount that was offered, or if there's any other options, you can still call them and see what works. The other thing is too, you just want to go ahead and make sure that you're getting ahead of, because what I can imagine is going to happen in the fall is there's going to be lots of people that will be have change of circumstances. You have loss of employment, your income has changed since you submitted the FAFSA. So just kind of staying in contact with the financial aid office now will kind of help keep you in the front of the line. So you're not in the back of the line with everybody else who waited until August or September to start trying to explain to the financial aid office what's happening. So just continue right now to continue to keep in contact with them. They still are, of course, putting their award offers and things online. So you can still check all of that status. And they're working it out so that you don't have to actually bring in that stuff physically. So, just call them and let them know, but continue as usual, because the last thing that you want really is that you don't want to have, gotten everything together to be excited about the process and then not have enough money to cover everything that you.
Yeah, that's crucial. I feel being able to afford school is really important part of the process. And then one of the things that I'm being very mindful with students right now, also that they're home, many of them are still working through their academics, but also keeping those grades, good grades, because that does influence their admissions and then their financial aid. But also scholarships, finding having that time to really look into scholarships. We do have many scholarships that they're still accepting applications, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And we definitely have some on CFNC that students can look at. But I also tell students this is a great time to do Google searches. I mean, we're already online, just kind of, trying to find something to do. So why not go into Google, do some simple searches. The only thing I tell students when they're doing the Google searches is just never pay for any information. So if you get to a website and they say, give us $5, we'll give you access to our scholarships, never pay for it. But this would be a great time to do some searches, on anything that you can think about. Like, as for me, like, I'll use myself as an example. Like, I would do a Google search for female, African-American scholarships. So as a Latino student, I'm looking at, Hispanic scholarships or something that's unique to me. There's lots of different organizations that will do scholarships for different things. So doing lots of Google searches too is like key, and you have plenty of time to do that. So take advantage of it for sure.
Thank you so much, Timeka. The last piece I wanted to ask you specifically, it's my understanding it's once the different schools are sending the award letters, the students have to accept or not certain aid. Is that correct? And are we still, a lot of schools are doing this electronically?
Yeah, they're still doing it electronically. So you have the option to accept whatever award you want to. I tell students to accept everything, so if a school, especially if it's free money, like any type of grant or scholarship that you don't have to pay back, accept it. And then if you change your mind, it's okay. They'll just cancel it, and reissue it to someone else. But if you're still kind of in that deciding stage, if several colleges have made offers to you, accept everything, especially, again, like free money. Accept everything.
I love free money. Who doesn't,
Yeah.
right? And maybe this is a point of caution to students that you also are given some loan options. So just make sure you're aware that loans you have to pay back. And I feel like people don't realize that sometimes.
Yeah, because when you apply for financial aid, you just assume everything is free. Like this is the purpose of financial aid. I'm supposed to get free money, but it's not all free. And I just tell students to just pay attention to the words, right? So just look for that loan word. If you see the loan word, that's money you have to pay back. But if it doesn't have loan behind it, then that's free money. But you do want to pay attention to the loans because you do have to pay them back, and they expect you to start paying them back 6 months after you graduate from college. So you just want to be mindful of that. If you have to take out loans, it's not a bad thing because it has helped a lot of people get through college. But, just want to be able to borrow responsibly. So just borrow whatever you actually need to pay your bill.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that, one of the services that CFNC offers through Juana and myself in the Spanish Services Unit is that we are able to sit with families over online and look at those award letters and really have conversations around them because they can be difficult to understand sometimes, especially if it's in a different language, right, that we're used to. Devon, I'm going to move to you and then to my colleague Juana to really help us with the Spanish services piece here. But Devon, one of the things that people sometimes don't realize is that there's this big transition happening. Let's say we're moving from being an adolescent to adulthood, and really college can really capture that. But also sometimes we have adult learners that are going back to school to retool, and that really can be a transition. From your experience, what should we be mindful of, or what can you tell us about this transition?
Well, I think the biggest piece, and I think it's even more relevant now, is just staying connected. I think especially the high school students have sort of taken for granted that they're in the school building every day and they have people who are checking in on them and trying to see how their college process is going and how all their financial aid application is going. And so now there's this lack of contact that makes that connection even more important, because now students really have to kind of take the lead on that a lot of times. I know counselors are trying their best to reach out to students, but a lot of it does fall more on students now to get connected with their counselors, to get connected with admissions, to get connected with the financial aid office, specifically about, concerns they have, or just in general to keep up with those people. Because again, you're just not having the opportunity to do campus visits right now. So, I've been hearing about several colleges who are offering more programs with this in mind to connect prospective students with current students, to connect them with faculty advisors, to connect them with, admissions reps that are just super excited to talk about their potential future at those schools. So I think that getting connected with anybody and everybody, sort of who can help you along this path to your future, not only can help you in very concrete ways, but I think can also help you in a lot of emotional ways to kind of keep that hope up, because you're talking about your future. You're talking about what happens after this time is done, and what happens next. So I think that's the biggest piece that I think is so important right now, is just trying to stay connected with as many people as you can.
I'm really grateful that you say that, because I really do believe that connections are super important, especially right now where we all feel disconnected sometimes. Devon, since I have your attention, many of our families may be going through this period of fear, anxiety of the unknown. And this is normal. This is not just because of what is happening right now. This happens when, for the unknown, there's unknown things happening. Do you have one quick little strategy that we could all learn in terms of calming that anxiety, that fear?
Yeah, I mean, the tricky part about giving just one thing is that not one size fits all, as I'm sure you know. It's right now we're going through kind of a tricky time where people who've had anxiety before, the strategies that they had aren't working anymore because they're in a different context. And then people who've never had anxiety are suddenly having anxiety, and they haven't had to come up with coping strategies yet. So I think it's just trying to find something that works for you. There's a number of anxiety apps on phones that are free. One thing that there's one caveat, obviously you're going to be on technology some more, which we got a lot of technology going on right now, but they have some, most of those apps have some helpful breathing exercises or progressive muscle relaxation techniques. But beyond that, I would say getting away from technology actually is probably the best thing to do right now. Just take a step outside, take a walk, take deep breaths, just trying to kind of wind down from the tension that's in all of our bodies right now. And I think my best advice for, adults is to kind of talk about that with their students. We're all feeling that. And I think, trying to let teenagers and other young folks know that they're not alone in feeling that, and talking about strategies is one of the most helpful things that folks can do right now.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Recognizing that this is difficult for all of us is really important. Juana Hernandez Urquiza is my colleague. Specifically, she works in the Spanish services unit of 2. But we really have the privilege of going across the state and really serving our Spanish-speaking families. And that's really a privilege that we don't take lightly. Juana, do you want to say anything from the Spanish services side?
Sure. I just want to, well, first of all, thank Brittany, Timeka, and Devon for sharing all the great information. Right now, the calls that I have been getting from students have been about, I got my award letter or offer letter, and I don't understand it. I don't get it. This school is offering me more money, and this school is offering me less, but this is the school that's offering me less is the school that I want to attend. So just trying to help them and so having this information, having the experts on the call and sharing, that you can accept everything, and if you change your mind, it's fine. And so the other thing that a lot of questions that I've been getting have been around the FAFSA, right? There's still students that are trying to complete their FAFSA. A lot of the students that we work with just experience different challenges because, they come from immigrant families. And so there's different challenges that they may experience. And so working through that process with them. And there's also a lot of misunderstandings. And I'm going to refer to Timeka, who, it has that financial aid background, but there's a misunderstanding that it's too late to do the FAFSA, right? And so Timeka, do you mind sharing a little bit about why it's not too late to complete your FAFSA? Because, we understand that the federal deadline is June 30th. But a lot of the UNC schools, the deadline was March 1st. So can you share a little bit about what that means and just help clarify, why it's not too late, or if it's not too late to do the FAFSA?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. It's definitely not too late. And they have, so for this year, for students who are planning to go to school in the fall, the June 30th would be the deadline, would be June 30th of next year. So the form that they're filling out is for June 30th of next year. So you still have plenty of time. And yeah, it's definitely not too late. Colleges will process them at any point. And really for this year, students get a little break because things kind of got put on hold for a little while as far as processing was concerned, because of everything that happened. And so students now really have a little bit longer time to have submitted stuff than normal, but it's not too late to do that. They'll process it. What I do hope that, so this year, let's say you haven't done it and you're worried about if it's too late. No, it's not too late. But what I do want to happen in the, going forward is the FAFSA form opens up every year, October 1st. I like for students to get those forms in the month of October, right? Mm-hmm. Because so technically there's not a deadline, but your goal is to try to get as much money as you can from a college, right? To get as much free money as you can. And so sometimes that money, some of that free money does run out. And so that's kind of probably where the misconception is if I fill it out now, I won't get offered anything. You'll still be offered the federal funds because they never run out with the federal funds. But what you're also trying to get is some of that state money, possibly, and you're probably trying to get some money through a specific college. And those funds do run out kind of early. And so those are the ones that I like for students to try to get into the habit of. So this year, yeah, it was a little bit late, still not too late. Submit them. They will still offer you everything they can. But then going forward, try to get it done in October of every year if you can, because it does have to be renewed every year. And so sometimes students will, submit it and they'll think, "Good, I'm glad that's over." But it has to be renewed every year. So every October 1st, it's like we need to get that form done.
It's a new opportunity.
Yeah. Thank you so much for making that clarification. Timeka, like I said, there is a lot of uncertainty out there when it comes to completing the FAFSA, and I just want students and families who need support, who may have questions, that we are here as a resource. We have a CFNC in Espanol section on our website where we offer great tools and resources from planning to paying and applying to college. And so we have really great resources on in Espanol for the families, students that are looking to get some information in Spanish. We also have scholarship information, and we have scholarships for Latinx available as well. And so definitely know that we are here to support you. Any questions that you may have, you can reach out to us, to the Spanish Services Rep, Juanes and I, or you can always call CFNC if you want to talk to someone from the office. But we do have a lot of resources, and just know that you are not alone. Counselors, if you're watching this as well, know that we are here as a resource to support your students. We have a ton of resources on FAFSA in Espanol. We just have so many resources, and I just want people to reach out to us so that we can share all of that with them.
Thank you so much. Well, before we finish, I wanted to give the challenge to all our friends to go to cfnc.org, take a look at all the resources that we have available. If Brittany, Devon, and Timeka, and Juana, if you could share one resource that we have at CFNC. I know we have so many, but if you have right now one resource that you think is so timely that students can be using now, what would it be?
Well, I personally, I think that everybody needs a little bit of inspiration right now, especially our younger folks that don't know what college or career they want to go to. So I'm a big fan of the Plan for Career tab, just because you can take those self-assessments and learn more about yourself and just start to get excited about your future.
Yeah, I took those myself too. Go ahead, Brittany.
North Carolina is so unique in that we have so many amazing colleges. Like 111 colleges in one state is unheard of. So I think my favorite would definitely be the college search tool, just to see like fun things about schools in the state of North Carolina. For example, Montgomery Community College has one of the top taxidermy programs in the entire nation. So just looking to see like what awesome programs that we have in the state of North Carolina, that college search school is my favorite.
And I would add too, of course, I'm going to mention something about money. I think the scholarship tool is really great, you know, because most people are trying to figure out like where's scholarship money in North Carolina, where it was offered through the state. So I think our scholarship search portal is probably really, really good to do around this time period, just to see, you know, what kind of money can I get for free?
Yeah, and I want to, so I'm just thinking, I'm like, which one should I pick? One is only allows me to talk about one. Well, I want to talk about the financial literacy course that we have for high school students, Fundamentos Financieros. It's also translated in Espanol. And so right now it's just, it's a really great moment for, you know, students with their families to sit down and go through the courses, because it talks a lot about setting a budget. It talks about saving for college, paying for college, but also it goes beyond that. It talks about, you know, if you're going to buy a car, if you're going to buy a house, what are the things that you should be looking into? And the amazing part about this resource is that any student that is in high school and completes the high school basics course, and if they pass with an 80% or higher, they are eligible for a scholarship drawing. So Decision Partners, who works with CFNC, they select 2 individuals randomly to get that $500 scholarship. And so this scholarship is open to DACA and documented students. So there isn't any restriction when it comes to residency or citizenship, as long as they're in North Carolina. And so I would say that's a really, really great tool right now that students and their families can be taken advantage of.
Thank you so much. This is a rare opportunity that I have to hang out with the experts across the state, and our audience and our students have the privilege of having everyone together. So one, thank you so much for your time, your expertise, for what you do. Did you guys have any last words of advice for our family, students, and counselors as we are embracing this new year with new challenges, with new opportunities?
I would just say to stick with it, you know, like I understand that times are changing, but it will not last always, right? So just to kind of stick with the process, do your admissions applications, do your financial aid applications, and stick with the process. It will pay off.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, that's absolutely it. Keep hope alive. We'll get through this, and you know, keep thinking about your future and planning for what you want that to look like.
Yeah,
Well,
and I would just add, you know, yes, absolutely, but you know, don't give up. Just, there's a lot of resources out there right now. I know that, you know, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of uncertainty, but you know, just in hearing Brittany and Devon and Timeka, you know, the message that I got is that just keep doing what you need to do. Don't just like shut down and say, I don't want to do this anymore, but like keep moving forward. Communication seems to be key. So making sure that you are calling your schools, make sure that you're calling the admissions office. If you need to speak to them, that you're calling the financial aid office, like reaching out. If you have any questions, no quedarse con la duda, like, you know, just making sure that any questions that you have, uncertainties that you have, that you're reaching out to your schools or to us, because we are here as a resource.
thank you so much for saying that. And yes, you can actually find all our lovely emails and phone numbers and even our social media. If you go through to cfnc.org, you just type our first name, you'll find tons of resources. All of us are available on social media. Many of us are Instagram and Facebook. All of us are in Facebook for sure. So we are, you can find us and connect with us that way. Friends, I appreciate you guys taking a little bit of your time to have a cafecito virtual with us. Cheers to that.
Salud.
This was the first time that we have done it in English. So I'm really excited that we have the capacity to breach those cultures, to really serve all our groups. So thank you so much for your time, your expertise. I hope that everybody stays safe wherever you are. And thank you for giving us such a beautiful message today. And we'll be in touch.
Thank you, Juanes.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Have a good day.